Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the MMA Corner post-fight wrap-up. As tonight we come at you live on the heels of Bellator 119. Tonight's episode is brought to you by BattleBomb, the only pain reliever with the knockout power. BattleBomb.com. Check them out. Audio for tonight's episode is powered by Soul, Power, Clarity, Comfort. Soul Electronics. Get you so. I'm your host, Josh Davis, alongside my panel for this evening, featured columnists at the MMAcorner.com, Jason Spelke and Zach Miller. Zach's joining us tonight. Guys, how you doing this evening?
I'm fired up.
All right. Zach's fired up. Jason, how about yourself?
Hey, doing good, man. Day 15 of not smoking, so.
Hey,
On that e-cig life. There you go.
Congratulations. Straight thug life. All right, guys, I got to be honest. Tonight's event was probably not Bellator's best of the year, but from top to bottom, it was another solid Bellator card. I mean, every Friday night, they keep coming at us with exciting fights. If you caught the prelims on Spike.com and then caught the main card on Spike TV, I mean, seriously, guys, for free fights, week in, week out, you cannot ask Bellator to do any more than what they're doing for us right now. And tonight, Bellator 119 was no different. I mean, top to bottom, again, solid night of fights. Main card, again, not the best of the year, but it did offer some exciting fights. Zach, give us your thoughts on the overall card.
Overall card, like you said, Josh, not one of their best. Not, the typical action-packed Bellator card that we've come to know as journalists and fans. But, like you said, not a terrible card. It's free. Can't beat free. So, really the main event saved the whole thing because that was pretty exciting at the end there. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how the fighters that won progress. And overall, yeah, not a bad night of fights.
Shelky, give us your thoughts.
I mean, it wasn't the most, exciting Bellator card I've ever seen, and I've been following them since their inception, a few years back. But these cards are going to happen whenever you have all this new up-and-coming talent. You're not always going to have the most exciting cards because you have these guys. It's going to be their first time on national television. So, I tend to be a little more lenient on the guys that don't come out there and shoot fireworks because. They all have to have their chance, and Bellator does a really good job with that. And week in, week out, you're seeing fresh faces, and sometimes you're gonna lay an egg.
Well, and I think this was a great card leading into their pay-per-view event next week. I mean, obviously they have a lot of their talent, a lot of their eggs, so to speak, into this basket coming up next weekend. And so I think this was a great card leading into that. And again, I wasn't disappointed. I thought it was a solid night of fights. Looking at the card on paper coming into tonight, I didn't think this was going to be their best event of the year. I certainly didn't think the card was an A-plus card on paper. But the fighters that came to fight tonight certainly delivered. And then, like with any event, we had some fighters come and they wanted to do, the two-step shuffle or, dancing with the stars, whatever you want to call it, instead of fighting. But there's nothing that Bjorn or Bellator can do about that. That's strictly on the fighter. So with all that being said, let's get right into it. Opening up the main card, we had Raphael Butler against Nick Rosborough. And guys, if I'm just being honest, the first round of this fight was probably the best round of all the fights on the main card. I mean, it was exciting. These guys went after it. They were throwing some heavy punches, and Rosborough certainly had Butler hurt. I mean, he had him doing the drunken monkey, the stanky leg, whatever you want to call it, and certainly had his opportunity to finish the fight in the first round and just didn't get it done, and came out in the second round and was gassed, and then the third round, I mean, it was even worse. But with that being said, Butler showed me that while he he is slowly evolving into a mixed martial artist. He's still got a long ways to go. Yes, he hits hard and he's a great boxer and that kind of stuff, but again, he was wobbled on the feet tonight and his ground game was atrocious. I mean, Rossborough was so gassed that even I probably could have finished him, and Butler, he didn't do anything on the ground other than lay on top of him. And so, yeah, he still has some work to do, but you know, it was again, the first round was the most exciting round in my mind. Now, with that being said, I don't know what judge scored that fight 28-27. He probably should be drug tested along with the rest of the fighters, but it is what it is. I certainly did think with the point deduction from the deliberate, cheap, nasty, dirty headbutt that he threw, losing the point on that, I did think that the fight should have been a draw. Let's start with you, Jason. Give us your thoughts.
Okay, well, I'm probably going to be in the minority here, but I think Rossborough should have won the fight. Given that the headbutt that Butler threw was blatantly intentional, it should have been 2 points deducted. That's my opinion. And he lost his position that he had because he had Butler's back when this happened. And after the foul, the referee restarted them in the standing position, which is not how it's supposed to go. If a fight's broken up for whatever reason, the fighter's supposed to be put back in the position where they were broken up. So someone from the commission should have jumped in at that point in time and corrected him. But I mean, you nailed it right on the head. After that first round, Rossborough had really nothing to offer Butler, and Butler's lack of overall MMA game did come through. I mean, yeah, he hits hard, but he definitely has a lot of work to do on the ground. And Rossborough, he needs to put some more time on the treadmill, get that gas tank a little bit bigger. But that first round was very, very exciting. It was back and forth, and even though I disagree with the decision, I think a majority of people are going to say it was a draw.
Zach, jump in here.
Yeah, Jason, don't know if I can agree with you there. What I will agree with you about, though, is that the position to stand them back up was not the correct call. You saw Rossborough's corner just like yelling and screaming because they knew the rules, but somehow a ref doesn't know the rules, which, that's not Bellator, that's not the fighters, that's just, once again, like, I know we're all sick of talking about it, but that's just MMA officiating. Like when Mike Williams, the voice, the fight announcer, is doing the math for the judges to decide who's winning the fight. There need to be some things done then with that commission, because that's kind of a scary thought that someone who's calling the fighters has to be doing that job. But anyway, about the actual fight, yes, the first round was exciting. The headbutt was, very deliberate, but unfortunate just for the flow of the fight. But yeah, there was, really what stands out is just you appreciate, I guess, or just understand how difficult it is to get a deep heavyweight division, and you understand why a promotion like the UFC is so talent-filled as it is. I know Butler he comes from a boxing background, but some of those things he was doing on the ground, man, like if you do jiu-jitsu at all, even if you're a white belt, some of that is like, what are you doing? Like just sloppy top control. Like he kept trying to pin his arm with his knee, but it was just not the best performance on the ground. And what was even more surprising is that, the reason why Rossborough was able to put him in some danger in the first round was because Rossborough was tagging him on the feet, and Butler is supposed to be this guy coming in with this boxing pedigree. So, there were a lot of questions to be asked after that fight about both those fighters. But unfortunately, they couldn't keep up the action first round, and it kind of fizzled. But yeah, a lot of questions to be asked about commissions, the fighters, and just depth of heavyweight divisions everywhere. But that's the fight game, I guess.
A couple of things. First off, yeah, the ref was terrible. Made the wrong call. Should have restarted them in the same position. You're not supposed to lose control when someone does something like that. If that was the case, I mean, people will be doing that crap all the time. I mean, otherwise, what's to stop them from doing it? So you lose a point deduction and stand back up and then knock the guy out. It doesn't really matter now, does it? So, yeah, it was crap on the official's part. He needs to read a rule book. But again, that's just the way it goes when anybody who takes a test and pays a fee can become an official. Now, as far as Bellator's heavyweight division goes, I will say this: it's not as good as the UFC's by any means, but it's still a stacked heavyweight division. I mean, look, and Congo's last fight, he got his ass whooped. I mean, and Congo, while he was not knocking on the door of a heavyweight championship in the UFC, he was still certainly no slouch. The UFC didn't cut him. They just couldn't come to a price point they could both agree on. That's why Congo went to Bellator. And then when it came championship time, he got his ass whooped. So, you know, Bellator still does have a decent heavyweight division. Just the fight we saw tonight, again, was not proof of that pudding. All right, moving right along. And what was a decent fight? It was a solid night, and Maurice Zaromskis, he looked real good beating the crap out of Von Anderson. And, you know, Von came out, they were trading shots, we'll say, in the first round, and Von was able to wobble him. And then at the end of that first round, obviously Morris was able to come back and get that liver shot. And I think that is what really changed the whole tone of the fight, because coming out in the second round, Vaughn was not the same fighter, and Morris just completely picked him apart, took over the fight, and basically put on a beatdown. I will say this: I like the kid though. He looked good tonight. I can't wait to see him back in the Bellator, you know, octagon cage, whatever you want to call it. I want to see him in that welterweight tournament. The kid's got some skills. I want to see more of him. Zach, give us your thoughts. Jason, follow him up.
Okay, can we preface this fight by talking about how Von Anderson said he drinks snake blood? Because, like, thank God the commentators, thank God Jimmy Smith, like, talked about the snake blood, because I thought I was the only person who was watching who was like, this is absolutely ridiculous, but okay. You know, I guess if it's, if VADA or whatever commission allows it, then I guess Von Anderson can keep drinking as much snake blood as he likes. That's cool. Different. Haven't heard that one before. But yeah, no, it was a great fight. Competitive fight, you know, because Zaromskis, even though he came into that fight with a 19-8 record, now 20-8, which is impressive. That's, you know, over two-thirds of his fights are wins. You know, that being said, 19-8, it's not like he had the record on paper that Von Anderson did, which I believe was 16-2 going into that fight. That being said, Zaromskis has, you know, over his career, he's had a pretty long career. He's faced people like Nick Diaz, faced people like Chainmails, Sakuraba. He's faced a large amount of big names. And yeah, this really was just a great fight for him. Brutalized Von Anderson with leg kicks. I thought, you know, at a certain point, and it just goes to show you how tough Anderson is. I thought it was going to be a leg kick TKO, or, you know, something of that nature where you fake with the leg and then go high. And he did try, you know, to his credit, he did try for the finish, but, you know, he really took over. And, you know, I'm with you, Josh. Looking forward to seeing him keep fighting in Bellator.
You know, for those people who have been following Zaromskis from Pride, or not from Pride, from Dream, I'm sorry, they know what this guy's capable of. And it hasn't transitioned over to the United States. You've seen flashes of it here and there, and tonight was one of those flashes of that dominant, just, you know, striker, vicious, you know, vicious kicks. We finally saw it. Now, if I do have one criticism of his performance tonight, it's when he landed that right hook to the body that dropped to Anderson. where Anderson fell down on the ground, and instead of making him stand back up, Zoramskis just kind of stood over him, pecking away little cheap shots at his legs. Where if he would have had that killer instinct and been really looking for the finish, I think he would have just immediately stepped away, been like, "Yo, get up," and I think he would have had a shot at finishing that fight, even though it was close to the end of the first round. But, I mean, just like Zach said, I mean, Anderson proved that he's tough as nails because we've seen Zoramskis just drop people with his leg kicks over the years and with his, superior striking skills. And this is the Zoramskis I think everybody expected to come over from Japan. And I'm glad to see him get back in the winning column, and hopefully he does get a shot in the next welterweight tournament.
Zoramskis is a beast, dude. I love this guy. I think there's good things to come from him. And Vaughn's, like you guys both said, Vaughn's one tough SOB. I mean, he took an ass whooping tonight. Those leg kicks that he sustained, he wasn't even checking them. He was just straight eating them, and that's beast mode. Maybe it is due to drinking the Cobra blood and that kind of stuff. But I do know that's stuff they do in Thailand all the time. I mean, there's videos of Mike Swick and all his guys over at his gym in Thailand doing that stuff. It's not snake blood, but I do have snake juice right here that I use. As you see, there's a little baby cobra in there. So it's common for that stuff to be done. Now, the snake blood though, I mean, those guys are straight beastly doing that stuff. I've never tried it, but if I was in Thailand, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. All right, moving right along to a fight that I will say would have been great on an episode of Dancing with the Stars. John Alessio versus Eric Wisely. Obviously, Alessio came to fight. In my opinion, Wisely did not. Zach, why don't you start us off on this one?
It was strange, because John Alessio, he has this huge long career, and I remember his last time, when I saw him, that he was fighting, I'm like, oh, this guy is familiar, and he's the guy I remember. Last time he fought in the UFC, he vocalized, I'm pretty sure, how frustrated he was that his competitors were not actually fighting him, or what he called was not actually fighting him. They were taking him down, holding them down, and not standing and trading with him. To his credit, Wisely was kind of circling a lot, not really engaging, and Alessio did try to engage at certain points, but, I mean, that was a hypocritical performance, I guess, if, dominant performance, but, for a guy who had problems with his opponents, taking him down and holding him there, certainly question that. That being said, it was a dominant performance. I just not really a lot to say about the fight, honestly. Like, what can you say? Wisely circled a lot. Alessio would catch him eventually and bring him down to the ground. Don't know if I'll remember this one in like a week or so, but John Alessio is an exciting dude. He's a very technical dude. I'm excited to see him keep competing in Bellator. There were the technical differences were just so apparent. Like, there was this moment where Wisely threw the two. He threw his left, I believe, and he's like balancing on one foot trying to throw it forward. And I was just watching that, and it's like, man, like if that was in kickboxing or that was in boxing or that was or even if Alessio was in a better position to counter, like you would have just gotten dropped. Like, John Alessio was clearly just outclassing him. So I guess that is the silver lining. I do want to see more Alessio in Bellator. I guess that's what you can take away from it.
Shelty, jump in here.
To kind of build on what Zach said a little bit, Alessio, he did what he needed to do to get the win. His opponent really didn't want to engage with him. And Alessio, I think he tried to start, take the fight. But eventually you got to get to a point where you know that your opponent really doesn't want to fight, and so you just got to, rack up the points on the scorecard to get the W. And this was a win that Alessio needed. He hadn't had a win since March of 2012, I believe. It was either March or May of 2012 was his last victory.
March 16th, 2012 against Ryan Healy was his last victory. Score Fighting Series.
Yes, I know it'd been a while, and so this was a fight that Alessio really needed to win, and I feel that Alessio wanted to make it more exciting than what it was, but unfortunately, his opponent really didn't want to make it exciting. But it's a good victory to get him back in his winning ways. And one other note, it looked like Alessio was about 2 divisions larger than Wisely. I mean, the size discrepancy between those two was just astronomical. I mean, I know they both weighed in at 160 at catch weight, but there's no way that they were anywhere close to the same size tonight. I mean, Alessio had to outweigh him by at least 20 pounds. I mean, he was just humongous compared to Wisely.
Yeah, they definitely looked like they were in different weight classes. And this was a must-win fight for John Alessio. And the one thing I will say, regardless of what anyone thought about the fight, at least John came out to fight. I mean, he wanted to engage. He wanted to bang. I was surprised it was him going for the takedowns and doing the top game, that kind of stuff. But he really didn't have any other choice because Wisely just wanted to dance around in circles, And I get that. If that's what you're going to do and go for the counter punches and all that kind of stuff, that's fine, but you have to throw him. Wisely wasn't even throwing him. He was just, running around in circles. It was terrible. So with that being said, I have to give John all the credit. He went out. He did everything he could do to make it an exciting fight. It's just that his opponent did not want to engage, didn't really appear like he wanted to fight at all tonight. So kind of disappointed, but, I will say this, like, I have to agree with the panel, like you guys said. I am looking forward to seeing more of John Alessio, and who knows, maybe he'll get on the snake juice and change his career. We'll just have to wait and see. You never know with these things. All right, guys, moving right along. Main event. Daniel Weichel versus Desmond Green. Des Green is what he's going by these days. I really expected this, not that it was a bad fight, because it wasn't, but I expected there to be more to this fight. I did think that Weichel was a better fighter. I did think that he'd be able to get the victory. Watching him go through this tournament, the way he just put a beat down on Scott Cleave and just manhandled pretty much everybody. Even though in his last fight he didn't get the finish, he still was very dominant. I definitely thought he was getting the victory, but I thought Des Green would put up more of a fight. I thought they would be able to get this fight into the latter rounds, into the championship rounds, and I figured that's when Weichel would be able to capitalize. Not the case. He came out in the second round, dropped him. Obviously dropped him the second time and was able to get his patented rear naked choke. Looked very, very good doing it. He is going to get a title shot against whoever the champion is at the time he gets his title shot. But I do like this kid. I think he's got a lot of skills. He hits hard. He's got excellent submissions. A very, very good, well-rounded fighter. And I thought Des Green would be able to use his speed and his speed and his range tonight to make this a much more competitive fight, and he wasn't able to do that. Weichel was able to neutralize that, shut him down, get inside to land the shot that he needed to land so he could finish the fight. Excellent victory for him. Jason, jump in here, give us your thoughts.
You basically took the words out of my mouth, Josh. I thought that this was going to be a much more action-packed, well, I don't want to say action-packed fight, but a more competitive fight than what it ended up being. Because on paper, I mean, both these guys, they looked incredible through the tournament. Both looked, very, very dynamic, capable of finishing fights. And one thing really quick, I would like to see these tournament finals be 5 rounds. Just going to throw that out there while it's in my head. But, Daniel just came out, and he just had his way with Dez. I was really, really, really shocked by that. I thought like I said, I thought it was going to be a more competitive fight, but, Daniel just proved why he deserves the next shot at whoever, the winner of Pat Curran and Pitbull. So big props to him, and, Dez is going to take this as a learning experience. Obviously, he's had like a third of the fights that Daniel's had in his career. So, he's going to be coming back. He's going to be looking even better. He's going to learn from this loss. And Daniel, he's going to get a shot at the title. And so I think the question, now is can he beat either Pat Curran or Pitbull?
Well, and you have to throw Strauss in there because you never know, with what Bellator had stated that, they would be doing another rematch and whatnot. So you never know when he's going to get his title shot. But with all of that being said, I'm sorry, Jason, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, no, you're fine.
With all that being said, yeah, I'm super excited to see whoever it is that it is, whether it is Strauss, whether it is Cran, whether it is Pitbull. I think he matches up well for different reasons against all of those guys. I'm not saying he's going to win all of those fights, but he does match up well, and I'm looking forward to him. All right, guys, give us your final thoughts. Let's start with you, Jason.
I'm really looking forward to, especially the pay-per-view next week. That, I think, is going to be a great must-see card. Got a lot of really interesting fights to watch. Tonight's card, congratulations to Daniel Weichel for earning himself a featherweight title shot. And congrats to John Alessio. Mario Zaromskis, glad to see him get back in the winning column the way he should be looking. And yeah, Roswell should have won the fight. Just going to finish with that. Should have been a 10-7 first round. Should have been 2 points, man. Should have been 2 points.
Zach, give us your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. It was cool to kind of come full circle. It feels like forever ago. Bellator 110 for the MMA Corner. I was there at Mohegan Sun Arena covering the opening round of the featherweight tournament, so it was cool to see it come to a close. Dan Weichel deserves all the credit, obviously, but, good luck is all I got to say because, like you said, Josh, Strauss, Curran, Pitbull, those guys are beasts. Like, that is somewhere where Bellator shines, is their 55 and 45 divisions. Like, Weichel's got his work cut out for him, but, like you said, he can think about that later. Tonight was his, and it was a great performance. So, also, yeah, looking forward to the pay-per-view next week. Pretty pumped.
And guys, we will be back here next week to recap the pay-per-view event. So if for whatever reason you're unable to get it, definitely make sure that you tune in to the MMAcorner.com because the MMA Corner breakdown, post-fight breakdown show will be giving you all the details that you need related to that. So final thoughts on tonight's show. Again, Bellator 119, not the best event of the year, but it was a solid event. A great night of fights, free on Spike TV. Bellator is doing it week in, week out. They keep coming at us with great tournaments, great fights, exciting action. As someone who lives for fighting and all that kind of stuff, you can't ask for anything more. I love it. I love what Bellator is doing. I love what Bjorn has built there. And I look forward to more events to come and the pay-per-view next weekend. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this evening. Again, tonight's episode was brought to you by Battle Bomb, the only pain reliever with the knockout power. BattleBomb.com. Definitely check them out. Audio for tonight's episode was powered by Soul. Power, clarity, comfort. SoulElectronics.com. Get you some. Until, I guess, next week, for all your latest and most up-to-date MMA news, definitely check out the MMAcorner.com. For Jason Shelkey, for Zach Miller, I am Josh Davis. Keep living the MMA Corner lifestyle. Peace.
Snake